Hello, everyone, and welcome to probably not the final, but the close to the final Tramps Like Us update with the man, Dave Barry himself. I am Jesse Jackson. He's Dave Barry. It's getting close, isn't it?
It is. Thanks for giving me a chance to chat with you, Jesse. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
We're there.
we are there. I was so thrilled when you announced that we had a premiere date. I think it's so cool, and we'll talk about this some more. You're going to give anyone who is a spring nut, who's a fan, wants to watch it at the same time so everyone can experience it. But my first question is, when you picked the premiere date, was that like, how confident were you? Like, okay, I'll be ready. Or did having that date in there help you get it ready?
A little bit of both. I think Howie first asked me about it probably back in April,
Yeah.
March, right? And I was like, I'm going to be done before then. And I'd like to, I don't know if I can wait that long to premiere it, Howie. He had a very good point. The point was this, that everybody's going to be over in Europe on the tour. So you don't want to hold the premiere before everybody gets back from the tour, unless you're going to premiere it at the tour, right? And
Yeah.
I can't premiere it over in Italy. I start thinking, okay, maybe that's a little bit of divine intervention there, and that I'm going to have to wait because it gave me a little extra time. Because I'm pleased to announce we have a movie, and I think I'd be very proud of, and fans will be very happy with. At the same point in time, though, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I'll probably be tinkering with it all the way up to the date because that's just what we do. But it's the film, it's really amazing if you think about it. Like, it was January 8th of 2024 that I launched the Kickstarter campaign, which means I had first spoke to you about it, reached out to you in like December of 23,
Yeah.
right? January 8th, we launched the Kickstarter. February 2nd, we were funded and on our way. March, what was the date? March 19th, production started in Phoenix. It wrapped on September 17th in Asbury. And along the way, we shot 243 interviews with fans from 20 countries, ranging in age from 8 to 75. And I am
Wow.
pleased to say that they are all in one global conversation about what this 50-year experience has meant in the film.
But
Something amazing.
that is something beautiful. The One of my favorite statements, and I don't know who originally said it, but J. Michael Straczynski, the guy who did Babylon 5 and The Changeling and a bunch of other work, often will say art is never finished, it's just abandoned.
There was
Yeah,
a post house in Las Vegas that I worked at in my 20s
yeah,
when I would be editing it.
yeah.
It said, films are never finished, just abandoned.
And I
Eventually, you just throw in the hat.
when I one of my favorite stories, Tom, who I was just talking about, my friend Tom Zoller, says he'll never get a tattoo because he could not imagine getting a tattoo. He's an artist that isn't something he drew, and there's nothing he's drawn that 6 months later he's not wishes he could redo it. So he said, so it's just never going to happen.
So
Thank you
funny.
for sharing those statistics. Why don't we, just for those of you who came late, and maybe just to catch up, you've shared a little bit, but let's reset as if we were doing on talk radio. We've got David Barry, executive producer, director, writer of a film that's going to be out shortly.
Yeah, Tramps Like Us is the tagline would be the extraordinary relationship that Springsteen fans have had with the music, Bruce, and each other. It's the story of what it's been like and what it's meant to be a Bruce Springsteen fan for the past 50 years. It was crowdfunded by Springsteen fans through Kickstarter and GoFundMe. It's grassroots 100% all the way, and it's a true micro budget film. I was able to make it because I work in professional filmmaking. I've been in film since the 1990s, and I also happen to be a lifelong huge Bruce Springsteen fan. I always felt that there was a story there that should be told and that it was becoming generational. And it took me about 25 years to figure out how to tell that story. And what I set out to do was to tell it in a global conversation amongst Springsteen fans. So we set out with the one only rule of making the film was that anybody that wanted to participate in the film could. Anybody that had a story to tell could tell their story. Anybody that wanted to be interviewed, anybody that wanted to share photos or video they took, they could all be included in the film. And that's what we've done. Even the soundtrack, there's 38 Bruce Springsteen songs in the film. They're all played by fans. They're all fan interpretations of the songs. So it is 100% what this has meant to us and how it has impacted us. And I'm very proud of it. It's really been amazing to meet all these people in the past year. And it's very humbling to be handed their stories. And it's also very rewarding to put them all together the way they are now. I hope that they'll be very pleased with it. I believe they will. And I'm excited. I can't wait. As exhausting as editing and filmmaking is, and believe me, I'm tired now. I'm also very much so looking forward to August to see how people react to it. I can't wait. Christmas Eve, but a very long Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I think a little funny. We're recording this the day after the NBA had their draft. So as a Dallas Maverick fan, I'm all excited. We're getting Cooper Flag. But the guy who represented the Mavericks the couple of months ago during the actual lottery was on the radio, and he talked about that they do all that behind the scenes when they pick the ping pong. And then immediately, okay, we've got the number one pick, and you sit there for an hour while everyone gets going. And I'm like, I have this great news that I can't tell anyone. So you have this great little gift that it is like, I can't wait for everyone to open.
I get Facebook messages from friends or people who are in the film, and they're being as patient as they can be to wait to see it. But I think of the things that I've included in the film and what they say, and I hope that they're proud of it. Talking with you, I know what is included from your interview in the film, and I hope that you're proud of it. I can't wait for people to be able to see it.
Yeah. So I know one of the things you had talked about is you wish one of my favorite statements is you can't build a church big enough for Easter. And
Yeah,
so you would love to have a theater and an opening that's big enough that anyone who wants to go can, but that's
yeah,
just impractical, right?
that's correct. So
Yeah.
I think we've come up with the next best thing, though. And that
Yes.
is that for those that can't be in the Pollock Theater on August 24th at 7:30 p.m., what we're going to do is one time and one time only. The second that film illuminates the screen in New Jersey at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, it is also going to stream on the Tramps Like Us Facebook page for free for anybody around the world that wants to see it. So truly, Springsteen fans, no matter where you are, I get that some people have to get up in the middle of the night if they want to, but that's
Yeah.
what happens when you hold a global event. Inconvenient for somebody somewhere. But everybody will get a chance to experience the film and see the film all at the same time. And being in the theater is cool because you're in a theater and you're seeing it on a big screen, but being able to watch it with all your Springsteen friends around the world and having the chat window there where you can comment and say hi to each other and say, "Oh, I just saw Jesse," or "Oh, I just
Yeah.
saw." There's something very special about that because they're all experiencing it together. So I'm excited because I really think that's going to be special for people, and I hope that they enjoy it.
I'm so proud. I'm so happy. I wasn't surprised, but I was so happy it sold out so quickly.
More tickets available. I can't say exactly when that'll be. It will not be before mid-July, but it won't be much after August 1st either. It'll
Okay.
be in that range. And believe me, we'll let people know online.
Yeah.
When you do a premiere like this, you have to hold a certain amount of tickets because there's a lot of people you have to invite. You know that not all of them are going to come, but it's just proper to hold all those back first, right? And clear your guest list. And then, oh, we've got 100 extra tickets or 150.
Just
You know,
that's an example.
those tickets will then be made available at the same price. And 100% of the funds that we raise from it are going to the archives, to Light of Day, and Teach Rock. In the initial on sale, we raised $4,000, $5,000. So I don't know what the exact number is, but
Yeah.
which I think is a pretty cool thing that we were able to do.
So you do you want to talk a little bit about this post filming process and editing and share a little bit of the background of the nuts and bolts of making a film?
Sure, you take a film like this, and there were 243 Springsteen fans in it that we shot interviews with. So if you figure that each interview is 30 minutes long on average, that's 120 hours of footage by itself, probably more than that you have to look at. So you had 120 hours of just looking at footage and taking notes. And there are tools that help with that. I can use AI to transcribe everybody's interviews, even the ones that were in other languages, and get it in English so I can read it and see it. And that certainly helps organize it, but you still have to look at all of it. And so then what I started to do is I broke everything everybody said, got broken up into different video timelines based on subjects.
Okay.
So you got one on this and one on that, one on the Darkness album, one on the everything.
Buckets, right?
Just, yeah, like that. And then I started to take those and you start to, okay, today I'm going to work on, the early days, people who were in the area of New Jersey in the early 70s and actually heard about him before he even got Greetings out. And there were a few that we interviewed. And those people typically came from the Northeast because that's you had to be living in Long Branch or Asbury or the area. And then it grows outwards. And then I would build segments and then put photos and everything over them and then music underneath them and tighten them up and get a segment done. Maybe again, we'll start in order. We'll say the early days. And then I'd move on to another segment about the 70s. And that would be more about maybe the period from Blinded and The Wild and the Innocent. And the same process. And you do this over and over and over through all the stories that you have footage on. When I finished that, I had about 6.5, 7 hours worth of edited content, right? That then I had to take and shrink down to a manageable amount. A manageable amount is 3 hours. That's when at least I can look at it all at once and work with it. And once I got it down to 3 hours, then I watched it and I make notes and I go back in and edit and pull some more stuff out. And then now it's 2 hours and 45 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's now down to just over 2 hours. And you're still trying to keep everybody in the film. And it means pulling somebody out of here because you got a better section of them over there. And it's a jigsaw puzzle that you're putting together. And how long did it take? I started September 20th and what is that? That's 9 months of editing, basically.
Wow. I went through a spell where I was listening to a lot of podcasts interviewing showrunners and
Yes.
TV writers. Kill your darlings. This idea. Two questions. One, as you're watching, do you go, oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure I want to use that in the final film? And then when you start editing, going, I really would love to do this, but it's just not quite working.
Yeah, that happens both ways. Oftentimes you look at the first few cuts and you be like, okay, I can take that out. But now that I see it in a full film, it's not necessary. I can take that out. That happens a lot. There are a lot of things that I'm very precious about too, though.
Yeah.
That it gets down to I'd say once it got down to 2 hours and 20 minutes, knowing that I still wanted to get down to 2 hours or very close to it, that last bit was really hard because
Yeah.
I'm precious. By that point, I know everything that's said in the film completely. I can't just look at a soundbite by this person because I'm thinking about how it affects everything else in it, how it affects things down the line. They're all interwoven to me. And it gets very hard to just say, okay, I can take that out.
Yeah.
You have to eventually. And you get down to where it's at now, which is just over 2 hours with 5 minutes of credits at the end. So it's basically a 2 hour movie. And I'll probably get it all the way down to just about at 2 hours by the time I show it. There's a few more minutes. I know there's a few more minutes I can cut out of it and still keep everybody in it and make it flow and all that. But it takes a little time to really get to that last little bit of refining. So I've got 2 months to do it. But like I said, if I were to show the movie tomorrow, I'm sure that Springsteen fans would be extremely happy with what they saw, right? And
Yeah.
I think that nobody would say, oh, it was 5 minutes too long.
No, I'm sure that we would go, no, we want to see the 3 hour version.
Exactly.
Is the 3 hour version going to be on the DVD as a bonus extra? So you're finishing up. So once the premiere happens, what's next?
Then we'll start looking at film festivals and things like that. I am sending it out to different people to preview it and have a look at it, and we'll see what kind of feedback I get from that. Start to submit it for film festivals shortly. And then the goal is to get it onto a streaming service so that everybody can see it constantly when they want. If not, then we'll look at the other options for how you can self-distribute films as well. And I'll have to work out a license deal on the music with Sony and things like that. But
Yeah.
that's all just stuff you have to do. So we'll figure that out. But the hope is to get into film festivals. That would be after the premiere. That's the
Right.
main focus.
And is that, do you do that or do you have someone who helps you?
No, I
Okay.
end up doing
You,
most of it. I submit the film to there's a couple services you can use where you upload the film in a screener version. You fill out basically the info that goes into all of the film festival submissions. And then what you do is you pick the ones you want to apply to, and there's usually a fee. And they all have a couple of additional things that you have to answer. And then you just send it off and you submit it. Film festivals are very competitive though. So, you'll enter 10 to 20 and you might get picked for 2 or 3 if you're lucky. It's
okay.
very competitive. So we'll see. And ours is a feature-length documentary, which is highly competitive because they don't designate that many theater rooms to show those. And so a feature length is technically more than an hour. There's just not as many time slots then because they
Right.
take up more time. So it's very challenging to get into one.
Do you invite press?
Yes, yes. Yep. I don't really want to go into who we've invited.
No, I don't want to know that.
Yeah, but we've invited press, we've invited news, we've invited people from the film industry, from the screening services. We are inviting people from the Bruce Springsteen world. I will just say right now, no, I do not expect Bruce Springsteen to be there. Security wise, all the things it takes to do something like that with somebody like that, there are just not going to be in place for that to happen.
Yeah.
But we are inviting because it's the right thing to do. We'll just see what happens there.
Are you more nervous about a critic's opinion or us fans' opinions?
That's a great question. Wow. Because I'm a fan,
Yeah.
I'm more, the whole thing was about making sure that the story was told.
Yes.
There's a film out there called Springsteen and I, as we all know, and that was a very first attempt at telling this kind of story. And they took a very different approach. And in some ways, it left a large portion of the story out to me. To them, that was the story they wanted to tell. And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
No.
I really wanted to tell as complete of the story as I possibly could, right? So just getting it right, getting it as inclusive as possible was all I focused on. So I say that meaning that I think that from a fan's perspective, from somebody who's been a lifelong fan, I think the odds are that it's going to resonate pretty well with them, I hope. Whereas a critic who hasn't necessarily lived the life and understood it, now what you're hoping for is that it resonates with them because it shows the power of music in people's lives, right? A
Yeah.
different thing. I guess I'm more concerned that they're not going to necessarily get that. If you made the fan ultimately, first of all, for Springsteen fans, then you want them to be happy with it first and foremost. And there's enough of them to make you feel good about it, even if the critics didn't like it.
Yeah. Like what I would think is as a fan, you're most important that if and when Bruce sees it, he's happy with the story. I would think it almost more his, you've talked about this from the beginning of the journey. This is for his kids and his grandkids, right? That
Yes.
this is this, and I love that thought.
For him, I don't know. Honestly, I would love to be a fly on the wall or even get a chance to talk to him about it. And I doubt I'll ever get that chance.
Yeah.
But he's been hearing for 40 years now, probably. This
Yeah.
song has meant so much to me. At what point in time did in that process do you have to learn how to compartmentalize that? I would
Yeah.
imagine. Because if you didn't, you'd feel like the weight of the world was on you at all times, right?
Sure.
So I don't know, like, how he would feel about watching it just because of that. Because
Yeah.
if that's a compartmental part of your life, because it has to be, right? Then
Hmm.
hearing that for 2 hours from people, is that, how is he gonna, I don't know. I think, will he be appreciative? Of course, he's a human being. But you hit the nail right on the head. What's most important about the film is that on two levels, it's going into the archives and it'll be in the archives 50 to 100 years from now. You'll be able to look at a clip of Bruce playing Born to Run at MetLife, 80,000 people, all the lights on, everybody's on their feet dancing and everything. And people will look at that then and be like, wow, that's really amazing. Look at all those people who did the music, but they won't know why. But this
Yeah.
film tells you why. It explains why this music has meant so much to people for so long. And that's a powerful thing, right? Now, on Bruce's side of it, his kids grew up about it around it, and he was just dad, and dad's job was a little corny to them and things like that. Yeah,
As he
Barney
said,
to his kids,
yes.
his grandkids and his great grandchildren and grandnieces and great grandnieces and
Yeah.
family beyond this, they're going to know that Grandpa Bruce or Great Uncle Bruce was a very famous musician, but they're not going to really know why. But this film fills it in. So for the
Yeah.
Springsteen family generations down the road, they'll be able to look at it and say, wow, this really moved people. That's why they loved him so much.
Yeah.
That's why this community came up around. They all felt like they found themselves in his words. And it's universal, it's around the globe. One of the most amazing things to me is to be watching a soundbite from a Japanese woman who is talking about in Japanese, and you have subtitles up, talking about hearing the Darkness album as a child and feeling like it was written about her in Japan
Yeah.
from a different culture. She saw herself in all those songs.
Yeah.
That's why we've carried it with us so long. That's the extraordinary thing about this whole thing. And it's in the film. And I'm really
That's
proud that
nice.
you understand that feeling, why people felt so connected to it is in the film. And
And
it's
then,
universal and it's
yeah,
beautiful.
as a filmmaker, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I would think I want critics to like it. So therefore, more people, the hardcore Springsteen fan is going to watch this film. But to have other people see this, the ones that go, oh, Bruce is overrated, or I don't never understood it, to have them see that, I think would be one of the reasons I am excited about the film. I want to see this. I want to share this. And
Yeah,
so
what I would
having,
hope is, go
good.
ahead. What I would hope for is that it's a study for those that don't necessarily get Bruce or never made that connection.
Yeah,
I would hope that it's a study in how music creates community and
yeah,
empowers people. And that's a universal kind of message, right? So
yeah,
I think, I hope, I believe that it works on that level. We're going to find out, right?
yeah.
But I think it does. I think it tells that story on that level. And then on a more micro level, so that would be macro, right? And then on a more micro level, that would be our everyday experiences as the actual fans, right?
I think you said it very well. And yes, that's true. I did want to, I'd love your thoughts when the trailer for Deliver Me from Nowhere dropped.
Mm.
I told my wife, I said, oh, have you seen the Springsteen trailer? And she's like, isn't that the film you're going to New Jersey about? I go, that's a different film. What, how many Bruce films are there? Okay, there's the documentary, and then there's the guy from the Bear playing Bruce. And then she was like, and so tonight I told her, hey, I said, the filmmaker who did the documentary reached out and said, hey, do you mind talking tonight? And she goes, now, which film is this again? I said, it's, I don't know. Is this a good thing that there's another Springsteen film going around, or is it just they're totally different? It's fish and
I think
fowl, right?
I
Yeah,
think what that kind of demonstrates is that ultimately a lot of people are catching on to what we've all known for 40, 50 years or however long you've been on the train, and that's that this is a pretty special guy, a very special artist, very special music. What lit a fire under me to make the movie was that he had gotten sick, and I realized my hero is human and that there is
yeah,
an expiration date on all of this. I don't know how long we're all going to be here to do this. So I think there's a lot of interest right now in making sure that Bruce's journey, his music, his career is well documented and covered. And that's done in a lot of ways. It's done on fan films like mine, it's done on studio-sized projects like Deliver Me From Nowhere. It takes all hands to tell these stories, right? Because
Yeah.
it is a mammoth career. It is an incredible career. I mean, one of the things I like to joke about with my friends who are both Springsteen and U2 fans is that Bruce is so prolific. We hit a pandemic and he released 3 albums.
Yeah.
You had Western
Yeah.
Stars, you had Letter to Nowhere, and you had the covers albums, right?
Yeah.
U2 hasn't finished one album in that period of time.
Um,
It's not that they're like slackers. It's just Bruce is prolific.
yeah. And
He's just releasing 83 songs that
I
apparently
was,
weren't good enough at the time.
yeah, I was wondering about that. I imagine you're going to, I really want to do a deep dive into that, but I just can't right now. I'm knee deep in my own project, right? So,
Yes, I will find the time to sit and listen to it all. I always have this tradition that I do, which I can't do with something of this size, and that is
yeah.
that anytime the two artists that I love, which are Bruce and U2, they release something new, I have this kind of ritual where, and it's changed a little bit now that I'm a dad. I've got to
Yeah.
wait now until Abel's asleep until the house
Yeah.
quiets down. But I will sit down at night, the night it gets released, and I'll have a nice bottle of red wine, and I'll pour a glass, and I listen to the album. I've done that with U2 and Bruce for decades. So with 83 songs, it's a little hard to do that, right? It's not one album. It's not even a double album. It's 7 albums
Yeah. Yeah.
it's going to take to do that. But I'll get through it all. What are you looking forward to hearing from it?
I think the soundtrack for the film sounds interesting. The album that is similar to Western Stars, that Southern California pop
Yeah.
sounds good. I am relying on the kindness of others. I threw it out there, and so I have 7 different fans have signed up to have an episode on an individual album.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that way they can just focus on the 83 or Inyo or Faithless. And then I'm going to listen to all of them without a deep dive. They're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for me because
Oh,
I do the same thing you do. I just, like with Letter to You, I just had it on repeat.
yeah,
I just,
that's what I do.
yeah.
And yeah, you can't do that with a 7 album set. I'm
So,
looking forward to hearing the 83 album. Maybe, if I'm honest, maybe a little bit more than everything else. And I think some of that is because of the focus that's on the Deliver Me From Nowhere album or movie right now.
yeah,
That is a very unique period of time
yeah,
because everybody wants to focus on Born in the USA as like when he went stratospheric, but he had been famous for a pretty long time. Like getting your face on the cover of Time and Newsweek in 1975 was a very big deal. So he had been famous. Now, yes, Born in the USA put him,
yeah,
oh, but there was that very introspective period. Nebraska is an album that, gosh, even in 82, when I first heard it, like it wasn't The River, it wasn't Hungry Heart, it
yeah,
wasn't The Rockers. And I was young. I liked it, but I couldn't tell you why I liked it. It took decades to figure out why I liked it so much. And I think ultimately it comes down to the honesty in it, so that even when you were younger and you didn't understand the themes yet, you knew he was being real with you in the way it was presented and the way he was singing. You appreciated that, but you grow to appreciate it more with time. But I go to that album because what an interesting period. Like you've just had the very successful River and No Nukes and all these things and the worldwide tour, all of that. And then to just dive into the bedroom to write an album and these other songs that may work on Born in the USA, they may not. But
yeah.
that very introspective moment to that very public, worldwide, global moment. Now, just that period of time, I think, is going to be very fascinating to hear. And a lot of the songs we've heard already. Part of me hopes that they'll sound a little different to me. It's just interesting.
Yeah, when I was lucky enough to interview Warren about the book, I told him to me it read like a mystery novel of
Huh.
why did Bruce have to record this album before he could move forward?
Yeah.
And that was his discussion. He was nice enough. I sent him an email and I said, I am sure your dance card is very busy, but if you could tell me who's going to be handling press for the movie, I'd like to reach out to him and go through the right channels. And he sent a very nice email back saying, I would love to talk to you again. It is going to be a little more complicated this time because
Yeah,
I'm not controlling my time, but yeah, I'll work on getting something done. So I'm
that's good.
excited to have him back on again. So,
That'll be fun. That'll be.
did you think going into this when you called me in November or December last year, 2 years ago, that even then, did you think that was going to be the theme? Or were you just going, I know there's a story here about Bruce's fandom and I want to find out what it is?
I think I knew it on a personal level, right? Because of my own
Yeah,
experiences with the songs. I think that it was very interesting to me that what seemed to come out of the conversations is that it started on that very rudimentary level of the self of the individual, hearing Badlands or Racing in the Streets or Born to Run or whatever your song is, right? There's a song that you saw yourself in and you didn't feel alone. You felt like he understood you. So then you start to go to the shows when you can, either you're a teenager and finally you can go to concerts, and you realize that all these other people in there also feel that way, right?
yeah,
And so for the beginning, a community started at a concert where for 3.5 hours you felt bonded with these people that you didn't know. You saw the same expressions, you could tell they were feeling the same things. And that's still about community, it's about finding connection, right?
yeah,
And then when social media happened and all these groups popped up, these people started to find friends that they didn't have before. And they built connections and communities of like-minded people, of people who were experiencing the same thoughts and the same feelings. And so it's community, but it's still finding, like, it's literally like Bruce says, it's like that 1+1 = 3, right? It's still that it starts on that very individual level with songs and lyrics, but it's a thread that goes through the whole film because I've
right.
been to plenty of Bruce shows and had that experience. But when you start to see that, yeah, I was blown away by some of these folks that I get to interview from different cultures and different language barriers and all these things, and they felt the same way about these songs. They felt like he was talking to them. You think about it, that'd be like impossible, right? The language barrier would be impossible, but it bridged that. It bridged all of that. And that's incredible to me, right? And it's very special. And so that thread, I think I see it more clearly now and how it's the same feeling, but it's on all those levels, right? From the
Yeah,
very self to the literally the calling all Springsteen fans or Springnuts level of big groups of social media folks who find identity in a hive, but it's still on that level of how these songs, how they see themselves in it, right?
yeah.
Cool.
So I'll let you go shortly, but what's the timeline of that?
For Kickstarter stuff, a
Yeah.
lot of it's already been given out. Not all of it, but a lot of it.
Okay.
Anything that anybody who was getting something that didn't have the film with it, they
Okay.
probably got their stuff ready. There's probably a few people that didn't. Some people said they were going to meet me on the East Coast when I was filming, and then that wasn't able to happen. So
Yeah.
I'll have to do more sweep on that. But mostly it's just folks who are getting a package that also has the copy of the film that maybe haven't received it.
One of the things I'm curious about, Dave, is we've gone through the Kickstarter and the film is practically finished. But I wonder now that, because you always hear after the fact, oh, I didn't know anything about this. Oh, I would have contributed. And I imagine if this happens the way we hope it does, and someone picks this up, that one, the Blu-rays and the digital films, one will be collector's items, and two won't be available once you do that. So is it too late if someone wants to try to get on film?
No, I'm gonna keep the GoFundMe open until probably basically the premiere, I would, because I do get asked occasionally, can I still support? Can I still do this? But you're absolutely right. Right now, I can still, as a crowdfunding gift, I can still make the film available in the version that we'll see for the premiere, right? But
Yeah.
once it premieres, then that has to shut off because now I'm looking for distribution.
Right.
One of the things that distributors don't like is a lot of copies of a film out there. So I can't sell it at that point. Now, if we
Right.
get lucky enough to get picked up by a streaming service, part of the agreement is going to be that they have a level of exclusivity with it for a period of time, which will mean that if we got really lucky and it went to Netflix, right? Netflix is going to want probably at least a year where they're the only place you can see the film.
Sure.
Now, another thing that will happen is this. At that level, they will probably want to tweak the film a little bit. It may get shorter. They may take something out. I can't guarantee that at the national streaming level, I can keep all 243 people into it. Whereas right now, the version that will be available will have everybody in it. Now, down the road, once it clears streaming licensing and things like that, then yes, I'm sure there will be an opportunity to make it available for people. We will probably make a version of it that is longer, that has more stuff in it. But when that will be, I can't, at the very earliest, a year down the road, right? Maybe 2 years down the road. I don't know when I'll be able to do that. So for right now, until August 24th, we still have the crowdfunding option where people can get signed up to make sure they get their copy of the film before I gotta clamp it down.
If you know right offhand, what are the different levels that they can do for the fees?
75 and 100 get you to
Okay.
an actual copy of the film.
Okay.
And then there's levels above that and levels.
Yeah. How about anyone wanting a shirt?
I still have a few shirts
Okay.
and I can probably order on an individual basis. If somebody wants a shirt, I can make that happen.
Okay.
Uh,
Good.
those can still be available up until then.
Because, yeah, all right, that's good. That's nice. I will include the link for the GoFundMe to talk about. That way, if you do want to order maybe a second copy for a friend or a family member, or get one of your own copies, now's the time to do it because, as Dave just said, we want him to get picked up by something. We want as many people as possible to see this film. And so we want the fans to have first shot at it and then the world. I'm so proud that I've part of this. You're always so kind when you talk about the all the different Facebook groups that helped do this. You're always kind about me. I don't whatever I've been able to do, I really do it. And I'm just so proud that I've been part of this journey. And I hope everyone's enjoyed them as much as I've enjoyed having them.
I've really enjoyed it too. There's even a couple times where you let me be a fan, which I really enjoy.
Yes.
We actually talk
Yeah.
about the music.
Yeah. I would love if you want after the film's released, then like I'd love to go and after the fact. We don't want to spoil anything. So after, I think that would be a fun discussion.
Yeah, I'd love to have that conversation with you,
Yes.
and you will have experienced it, and you'll be able to tell me whether the things that I was hoping for, whether they resonated, whether I rang that bell.
Yeah.
We'll find
Good.
out.
Everyone should continue to watch the Facebook page.
Yep.
There will be new tickets. We don't know when, but watch that. It will be on the night of the premiere across the world. You're going to be able to see the film at the same time. I am worried the logistics of that. Are you going to enjoy the premiere at all?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think after the fact, I probably will. I had a similar experience when I showed Dream Out Loud the first time. That was the evening before you two kicked off the Experience an Innocent tour in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We premiered the film there. It was a smaller theater than this. I think that held 300 people. Everything was a blur before that, Jesse, and I'm sure it will be on this too. The part that I really liked, and this is why I keep telling people this, is that when I finally walked out of the theater and I was heading back to my hotel, and it was just a few blocks walk, so I walked it. I didn't take a cab or anything. I was just walking, and I was just looking at my phone and I was flipping through all the comments from the live stream of it. And I really enjoyed reading how fans were reacting to the film and the experience that they had watching the stream of it. And it was then that I realized that, okay, we told the story, we did it. And so I'm hoping that there's a moment where I feel that way on the 24th, whether it's in the theater or whether it's afterwards. But you're right, it's very much a blur. I don't necessarily get nervous about it. You don't know until you show it to them.
Yeah.
I've let a few film friends see the film so far, and they're all very moved by it. They all think it's great. but we'll see. You're talking about something that's been very near and dear to folks like you and I for a long
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
So we'll see how they feel about it.
Let's stay in touch. If we need to do
Sure.
something else between now and the premiere, just all you got to do is let me know.
All right. I'll see you in August, sir.
All
Thank
right,
you, Jeff.
everyone, continue to follow the Facebook page. Just be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.